The lights blaze across the stage once more, illuminating the scene like a cathedral of politics turned circus. The banners hang heavy with the colors of power, red, white, and blue, though tonight, the symbolism feels borrowed, stretched to its breaking point. Because tonight, the debate stage is not hosting presidents or candidates in the usual sense. Tonight, it hosts something stranger, something more absurd, something more satirical than reality itself. On the left podium stands Vladimir Putin, the architect of power plays, the master of calculated silence, the man who turned the cold glare into a weapon sharper than any missile. His presence is not about charisma. It is about gravity, the kind that pulls every eye, every thought, every ounce of fear toward him. He is the embodiment of control, of a country bent to the will of one man, of history rewritten by the victor who decided that he would always be the victor. On the right podium stands Ivanka Trump, the image of privilege repackaged as aspiration, the polished surface of a dynasty that thrives on branding. She doesn't storm the stage like her opponent. She glides. She doesn't crush with force. She soothes with practiced phrases, corporate buzzwords dressed in couture. She is the promise of empowerment wrapped around the reality of inherited access. To her, leadership is less about the battlefield and more about the boardroom photo shoot. The moderator, poor soul, clears their throat and prepares to introduce the debate. But already, the air is charged with tension, not because anyone expects policy, but because the contrast itself is electrifying. Putin, the iron fist who brooks no weakness. Ivanka, the princess of polished rhetoric. Two figures standing at the same stage, each absurd in their own way, each a caricature of power in the modern world. The first question is posed: what is leadership in the 21st century? And though the question is addressed to both, it is Putin who seizes it. Because that is his way. Questions are not answered, they are dominated. He leans slightly forward, not raising his voice, not needing to. His words are clipped, his tone flat, the way a verdict is read. Leadership, he says, is strength. It is control. It is the ability to bend nations, to command armies, to silence dissent before it speaks. Leadership is not discussion, it is declaration. It is not compromise, it is conquest. The audience stirs, half horrified, half entranced. Because though his definition is brutal, it is clear. And clarity, however terrifying, carries weight. Ivanka steps forward next, adjusting the microphone as if it were a spotlight rather than a tool. Her voice floats with calm precision, as if she has rehearsed every syllable in front of a mirror. Leadership, she says, is grace. It is influence. It is the art of inspiring others, of building bridges, of empowering communities through innovation. She speaks of women entrepreneurs, of modern solutions, of the kind of phrases that sparkle on a press release but evaporate when examined. She smiles, a smile that suggests control, a smile that has been polished into armor. The crowd reacts with polite applause, though the contrast is clear. Where Putin is force, Ivanka is performance. Where he wields silence as intimidation, she wields words as a sheen of progress. Both are hollow in their own way, yet both are effective in the theater of power. The narrator, me, watches this unfold and cannot help but laugh at the absurdity. Because what we are witnessing is not leadership in truth, but leadership as spectacle. Two different masks, two different brands, colliding on the same stage. Putin's face remains unreadable, but his sneer says enough. He dismisses Ivanka's words as fluff, as weakness wrapped in designer packaging. He sees her privilege not as a tool, but as an embarrassment, a reminder that her rise was not earned but handed. He projects disdain the way others breathe. And in his disdain lies the sharpest insult, that she is not even worth his anger, only his contempt. Ivanka, unbothered, continues. She speaks of legacy, of the role of family in shaping leaders. She speaks of being in the rooms where decisions were made, of learning by osmosis the weight of responsibility. She wraps herself in the narrative of destiny, as if proximity to power is equivalent to wielding it. She believes her story inspires, though it reveals the truth of dynasty, that some are born closer to the throne than others ever will be. The clash grows sharper. Putin asserts dominance by recounting his victories, his ability to crush opposition, his survival against enemies real and imagined. He recalls his grip on Russia, his influence over regions, his shadow stretching across borders. To him, leadership is endurance, the ability to outlast every rival until none remain standing. Ivanka responds not with tales of conquest, but with anecdotes of empowerment. She recalls initiatives, projects, panels. She invokes the language of progress, opportunity, innovation, equality, though always without detail, always abstract enough to sound profound without being pinned down. She sees leadership as narrative, as presentation, as the way one is perceived in glossy profiles. The crowd laughs nervously again. Because the contrast is absurd, a dictator and a dynast, one wielding tanks, the other wielding taglines. One crushes opponents in prison, the other curates followers on Instagram. One rules through fear, the other through branding. Both hollow in their own ways, yet both treated as leaders. The narrator presses forward, pointing out the irony. That Putin, the strongman, cannot fathom leadership without force. And Ivanka, the princess, cannot fathom leadership without image. That between the two, truth is lost. That what remains is theater, a performance for an audience that has forgotten what real governance looks like. The debate spirals into insult. Putin refers to Ivanka as a princess, a porcelain figure protected by privilege. He mocks the idea that she understands hardship, that she could survive a single day without the cushion of her family name. To him, she is soft power without substance, a smile with no steel behind it. Ivanka counters with poise. She calls him a relic, a man obsessed with domination in a world that has moved on. She frames him as outdated, as the embodiment of a leadership style that belongs to history, not the future. She speaks of collaboration, of global innovation, of new generations shaping the world beyond his grasp. She cloaks her insult in politeness, delivering daggers with a smile. The insults escalate. Putin boasts of his strength, his judo, his hunting, his shirtless stunts designed to prove virility. Ivanka boasts of her influence, her brand, her followers, her ability to inspire aspirational lifestyles. Both sound absurd when spoken aloud, both revealing how shallow power becomes when stripped of context. And so the stage becomes a theater of parody. Putin flexing his dominance, Ivanka flexing her polish. Putin dismissing her as weak, Ivanka dismissing him as irrelevant. Neither convincing, both entertaining. The audience laughs, memes are born, the internet readies its clips. The narrator notes that what we are watching is not debate but performance, not leadership but caricature. That politics itself has become a satire, a stage where even dictators and dynasts are actors. That the line between reality and parody has long since vanished, and tonight is proof. As the first half of the debate stretches on, the energy intensifies. Putin's disdain grows sharper, Ivanka's polish grows brighter. The clash is no longer about leadership, but about who can embody their caricature most completely. And in that absurdity lies the truth, that the theater of politics has consumed the substance of politics, and that what remains is laughter, discomfort, and disbelief. And this, dear audience, is only the beginning. And so the debate rolls on, the air heavy with a mixture of disbelief and amusement. The audience is no longer expecting serious policy. They are waiting for the next absurdity, the next clash of worlds that should never have collided. It is less a debate than a circus performance, one in which the lions have been replaced by egos and the trapeze act replaced by ambition. Putin adjusts his jacket with a flick of the wrist, the kind of small gesture that suggests total control over even the fabric on his shoulders. His silence stretches long enough to remind everyone that he decides when words begin and when they end. Finally, he leans forward into the microphone and proclaims that leadership is about fear, not in the polite language of respect, not in the sanitized tones of admiration. No, he insists that true leadership is measured by how much people fear to cross you. A man, he says, is judged not by his allies but by the long list of enemies who dare not speak his name aloud. The audience gasps, because though his words are terrifying, they are also honest in a way political speech rarely is. He strips the facade away, saying what dictators have always believed but rarely admit. Fear, he says, is the currency of power, and he is the banker who holds the world's supply. Ivanka inhales softly, adjusts her perfectly styled hair, and smiles into the spotlight. Her response is the